Well, hello, it's Chris Kimber here. I'm just about to start writing some new music for a new album that I'm going to produce, and I thought it'd be quite fun to try to kind of show some people how I go through that process of writing music that I write. I haven't done an album like this for quite a while. I've been doing other sort of composing projects for the last few years, but I thought it's about time I did some more beautiful music, relaxing. I think my aim is to make this a mindfulness and meditation style of music. So I'm just going to go through all the different processes that I go through. Some of this may end up on a finished album, I don't know yet, so I haven't started. But it's going to be an interesting experiment for me to see if how this comes out as well. I'll just briefly talk you through my little setup I've got here. Hasn't changed a lot in the last number of years, to be honest. All the same thing. I've got a master keyboard here. Just a basic, I think it's a Fatar Studio, quite a nice feel to it, weighted nicely, massive range, which is very useful for doing all sorts of strange effects when I need that. Has all the pitch bends and modulation wheels. I can mess around with that, and I've got a sustain pedal, clearly. And this is all MIDI'd up through a computer to a load of MIDI racks, mostly, which I'll talk through as well. And I've also got some plugins on the computer nowadays. Still using a big mixer, which you can see over here. I like to have hands-on control of everything still, really. A lot of people are very software-based on a laptop. That's not for me. I kind of like the idea of still being able to move things up and down, controlling things. I find that often that the mix is very much like a final performance as well. Sometimes I can adjust things as I'm listening to it, or I can just tweak things very quickly like that. I do enjoy the automation and the whole MIDI stuff rather than just pure live musicians. Correcting mistakes is fantastic, but I still am very much into the creative side when it comes to mixing. I might make several mixes of the same piece to see which one I like. Just that magic sometimes appears, doesn't it, when you're doing something in a sort of a live version. Not all pieces, some pieces just play themselves over time, but sometimes I do like to tweak it as I'm recording it and mixing it down. And that's my setup. So I'm going to just probably move the camera over to show you some of the sound modules that I often use for my compositions. Okay, so here's our set of racks I've got here. I'll just talk you through what I've got. I'm going to start with the oldest first, which is this gorgeous machine here, the Proteus 1 Plus Orchestral. It is a bit dated now, this is from the mid-90s, early to mid-90s. It has fantastic fantastic sounds in it, though, which I use a lot of. The oboe and cor anglais sound, guitar sounds, some of the more real-world sounds are good. A few synthesizer sounds as well, yeah, mostly I use that when I'm trying to emulate things. Some quite nice piano sounds on there as well, so a lot of stuff I use that for. Had that a long time, really like the sounds on that. Then it's newer cousin, the Proteus 2000. This is much more harsh, should we say. It's much more in-your-face sounds. Great for kind of dance music type things. But I do have the odd synth patch in there as well, which I come across. But there's so many sounds in there I have not explored yet. But there's a lot of sounds in that one. Then this big monster here, the Roland XV5080. I think it's one of the biggest machines that they did as far as sounds and amount of sounds you can get on it. Again, hardly probably dented the service, but what I did do with this was buy the expansion cards. That's to say the sort of world and Asia expansion cards, which means we can get a lot more sounds on it. If I can remember how to use these things, I think we go to here. We've got all sorts of strange things going on. What did I have here? Some kind of user setups here. I don't know what they are. You can hear the kind of sounds we've got. Those kind of sounds, very a lot of synthesizer-based sounds on that particular module. Again, a lot of these things got masses and masses of programming potential, particularly this one here. I really haven't got time for that, though. You know, I looked into it, and because there's zillions of presets, I just think to spend the hours trying to create your own sound, as fun as that might be, doesn't have the time. It stops creativity. You know, as far as if you're techie, ADSR envelope sort me fine. You know, I can sort that lot out. But once we start getting into all the sweeps and stuff and nitty gritties of frequencies, just haven't got the time for it, I'm afraid. So I do tend to just buy the preset expansions and play through them, and I may use something in a different way, like a bass sound up high or a high sound down low for something. But you know, it's just a waste of time to sit there trying to tweak sounds too much. Just get on with making the music, I say. Find the sounds and create something new. This is a drum module thing, which actually I don't really use a great deal, but I can plug it into electric drum kit. For those of you who don't know, drumming is my background originally, so very rarely I use the electric drum kit, and this thing creates sounds for that. Talked about the Pro 2000. This thing here, not switched on right now, but it's again perhaps a little bit of a dinosaur now, because a lot of it you do with electric processing and computers, but it's one of those gadgets that you put everything through it and it just sounds better. Very useful when I'm doing enhancing older stuff, to be honest, when I'm doing digital editing. But I don't use it much for the music, but it just makes things sound a little bit clearer and brighter. This one, nice machine, I just keep it in the rack. It's all plugged in if I need it. And finally, again, you can't do the instrumental synthetic type music that I do without something like this. This is the Lexicon reverb unit. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's as quiet as they come. All sorts of wonderful things can come out of that. Again, I generally use it for the reverb sounds, just nice, lovely, long, washy reverb patches that just give me, here's one here, large church, I don't know if you can see that here, but it just gives me long, big spaces. If I go back to finding a piano sound again, I've probably messed this thing up. This is a little bit temperamental now. The dial doesn't always do the right sort of thing. Oh, there's some drums. I don't know what I'm doing now. There's a piano sound. You can hear that on the recording. Quite a big reverb sound. If I take that off on the desk, there's the piano sound. Not bad. A bit more space. I can turn that up a bit. So that's all coming through the Lexicon as well, so you've got a nice big reverb on there. And on the top here, you can't quite see this, I've lifted it up a bit, is an old Yamaha REX 50, which is, again, a multi-effects unit. Again, pretty ancient now, I think from the 1980s. I picked one up second hand many years ago now, but again, a really useful thing. All sorts of weird, wonderful processing things you can do on that. I use it for the delays a lot. I can really control the delays. Again, it's a bit of outboard gear which goes through the desk, but I could do a lot of it on software, but again I like to do things hands-on, and I can really adjust things very, very easily the way the desk is set up. A little bit more organic approach than just sitting at a screen and a mouse the whole time. But it's a lovely bit of kit, a bit noisier than this one, so I don't use it on very quiet stuff, but it's certainly all over my albums in the past. A lot of anything delay you'd have heard of probably would have been that. This thing, as I said, I use a lot. As a general ambience for the entire track, usually, rather than having lots of different reverbs for each song. It sounds a little bit more homogenised if you put everything together through the one reverb unit, I think, rather than having different reverbs. All sounds a bit more pop and unnatural. I do like a bit of a natural sound to things. And then finally, I just moved the camera around a little unit on here. The Yamaha PG300, lovely bit of kit again, showing its age now, but this is one of those sort of MIDI modules that's totally GM or General MIDI compatible. So if you're going to download a MIDI file from the internet of some song you want to listen to, you know, pop songs on a cover or something, this is the thing that does it absolutely brilliantly. It's totally geared up for that kind of thing, much better than your inbuilt computer stuff. These other things don't really do that. They don't have a GM setup. The Roland does, but actually, even though this thing probably cost about 4 times as much as this one, the GM sounds are almost deliberately bad. So what I'll often do is I'll start off with this if I'm doing something that needs general MIDI, and then maybe enhance it with some of the sounds from this, like guitar sounds do sound better on here. But generally this is such a good, useful thing. Very useful user interface as well. You can see everything very clearly. Big screens, none of these little tiny little, just a couple of LCD things. Still sounds good to this day, you know, even though it's 20 odd years old. Still working really well. I have it plugged in over here. It's used a lot. When my wife's teaching in my studio, she uses it as a basic piano sound. So it's always on and around this one. A few sounds I use in my tracks. Some percussion sounds occasionally. The odd bit of harp sound. Guitars are quite good on here. The more sort of bold, brass, guitar-y things, I tend not to use. Fretless has got a lovely fretless sound. I wouldn't tend to use the brass type sounds, saxophone sounds, that kind of stuff on my relaxing style music, but I will use this from time to time. There is one other one that's missing, actually, a little gap here. There's a clock being put in, you can still see its wires, and that's the Alesis Nano Piano. A very simple module, just buttons on the outside, no LCD screen or anything. It's out because it's being used for a performance recently, so I took it away to use it for that. A few very nice sounds on that. One of my first tracks I did after the rain from the album Tranquility that you may have come across, that has the lead sort of vocal oohing sound, was from this nano piano, and quite a lot of the piano sounds you'll hear throughout the music does use that piano, the built-in piano sound on that device. Which I said is a small one, and if it's in here, but it's not in the studio right now. It may well appear for future videos, but it is somewhere else at the moment. I think it's just downstairs somewhere, but I haven't plugged it back in. But I may get that out at some point. But what I think I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through some libraries of sounds, and I'm going to see if I can find some new sounds that I've not used before that are inspiring. So I'm going to just sort of set the camera up a different way, and hopefully you'll enjoy me finding some new sounds that I quite like to use for my new project.